The medic never asked for this assignment. He was supposed to patch up humans, not fox-tailed aliens with fangs sharp enough to shear through steel wiring. Yet here he was, standing at the edge of the medbay, clipboard in hand, staring at a creature who looked both dangerous and disturbingly elegant. Sleek fur, 9 swishing tails, ears twitching at every sound. She was bound by a restraint field, but her amber eyes promised she didn't need freedom to be terrifying. He tried to be professional, clearing his throat, checking the chart. 1 fractured rib, multiple lacerations, energy burned across her side. Nothing fatal if treated. He let his eyes linger just a little too long on the curling slash above her hip. Her ears snapped upright. "Look one more time," she growled, voice a low rumble. "And I'll bite." The medic blinked, then forced a smile. "That's good to know. Very motivating. You should know most of my patients don't threaten to eat me before I've even started." She bared her fangs in answer. He knelt anyway, setting the scanner against her side. His hands were steady, but his mouth wasn't. "You know, where I come from, biting is considered a pretty strong icebreaker. Not usually step 1 in patient-doctor relations, though." Her tail lashed. "Keep talking and you'll find out exactly what it means here." "Oh, don't tempt me," he muttered, checking the readings. Burned tissue, deep but manageable. He reached for the antiseptic spray. The way her gaze followed his every move made his skin prickle. He sprayed the wound, careful not to look at her face, though he could feel her staring straight into his skull. "Still looking?" she snapped. He sighed. "Listen, if I don't look, I can't heal you. Unless your species has some kind of magical self-repair that activates when I politely avert my gaze, I'm afraid staring is part of the package." Her answer was a growl that vibrated in his chest. "Fine," he said, lips twitching. "Bite me, then. Better than letting you bleed out." That earned him a shocked flick of her ears, then another flash of teeth. Was that embarrassment under the snarl? He couldn't be sure. He leaned back slightly, keeping his tone casual. "For the record, humans don't usually offer themselves up to be bitten on the first meeting. I'm making a medical exception." "You mock me." "Absolutely," he said, adjusting the bandage wrap. "It's how I cope with stress. Some people meditate. I annoy deadly aliens until they threaten to kill me. Works wonders for the blood pressure." She let out a sound halfway between a huff and a hiss. As he worked, his mind wandered. There was something absurd about the situation. Humanity had fought tooth and claw to survive this war, only to end up with him, some underpaid medic, staring down a foxwoman who could probably crush his spine with one hand. Yet she was the one restrained, and he was the one with gauze and tape. Maybe that was humanity's real weapon, stubbornness mixed with just enough idiocy to keep moving forward. He pressed the final strip of bandage into place. She flinched but didn't lash out. He risked a glance up and found her eyes locked on him again, molten gold burning with challenge. "Don't," she warned. "Don't what?" "Don't look at me like that." He swallowed. "Like you're a patient? Or like you're—" He stopped himself, smirking faintly. "Never mind. Patient. Strictly patient." "You lie." "Probably," he admitted. Her tails twitched, restless. Her body language screamed that she hated the restraint field, hated the vulnerability of lying still while a human poked at her wounds. But beneath the rage, there was something else. She hadn't snapped the bandages off. She hadn't spat in his face. She hadn't actually tried to bite him. He leaned closer, voice softer now. "You know, I've treated plenty of soldiers. Human, alien, doesn't matter. Most of them hide behind jokes, or anger, or silence. You threatened to bite. Honestly? Kind of refreshing." Her ears flicked again. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, no threat came out. He packed away the kit, stood, and scribbled a note on the chart. He should have left it at that, professional, distant. Instead, the words slipped out before he could stop them. "Worth the risk," he murmured. Her head snapped toward him. "What did you say?" "Nothing," he said quickly. Then, because his mouth was faster than his brain. Just that it's better to risk a bite than to lose someone on my table. Her eyes narrowed. Her voice was low, dangerous, but not quite steady. Do not look at me like that. He smiled tiredly, meeting her glare head-on. Then stop giving me reasons to. For the first time, her lips curved, not into a snarl, but into something dangerously close to a smile. Fangs gleamed. Foolish human. Yeah, he said. But a persistent one. He turned to leave, feeling her gaze burning into his back. He didn't dare look again. Not yet. Because if he did, she might actually follow through on her threat. And the worst part? He wasn't entirely sure he'd mind. The next morning, the medic walked in with a fresh set of supplies and an even fresher determination not to let a fox with fangs get under his skin. It lasted all of 10 seconds. She was already glaring at him before he'd set his bag down. Her tails twitched like impatient whips, ears sharp and accusing. He pretended not to notice, which was of course exactly the wrong move. You're staring again, she snapped. I'm checking the wound, he replied smoothly. You look too long. Yeah, that's kind of how eyes work. They don't blink like camera shutters. Takes a second to make sure your rib isn't puncturing your lung. Her fangs flashed. One more second and I'll bite. He chuckled. You know, you keep promising that, but I'm starting to think you're all bark and no. He stopped, grinning. Actually, I should probably avoid finishing that sentence if I want to keep my jugular intact. Her ears flicked, not in anger this time but in confusion. Bark? Never mind. Human expression. Means you talk big but don't deliver. The growl that answered him suggested she very much wanted to deliver. But she stayed still as he cleaned the bandage. He leaned in, careful with the antiseptic, humming quietly to himself. What is that noise? She demanded. Humming. For what purpose? Comfort. Distraction. Humans do it when they don't want to think too hard. Like whistling in the dark. Or humming in the presence of a dangerous fox woman who keeps threatening to bite them. Her tails flicked again. Strange ritual. Better than your ritual. Threaten the medic until he develops ulcers. She bared her teeth. He smiled back. The rhythm of it had become familiar already, threat, joke, glare, grin. It was almost comfortable. By the third visit, the pattern had shifted. He was no longer flinching when she snarled. She was no longer snarling quite so loud. And when he dared to touch her side longer than strictly necessary, she only muttered instead of lunging. Persistent human, she grumbled. Annoying fox, he countered. You think you're amusing. I think I'm alive, which is amusing considering you promised to end me 3 times this morning alone. Her golden eyes narrowed. You test me. He grinned. No, I test your patience. Totally different medical specialty. For a long moment she just stared at him. Then, against her will, against everything her posture screamed, her lips twitched. The barest curve. Gone in an instant, but it had happened. He saw it. He stored it like treasure. The rumors started soon after. A passing guard heard her threaten to bite and his easy reply. Then I'll bite back. Within hours the whisper had spread across the base. The human medic was courting the Vulpine prisoner. Neither of them knew until a supply officer winked at him and said, Congrats on the engagement. The medic almost dropped his kit. The Vulpine nearly choked on her own breath. What did he mean? She demanded once they were alone. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Apparently your people have some weird definition of bite. Her ears went scarlet at the edges. It is not for outsiders to know. Oh, so now you're shy? You've been promising to sink your teeth into me for days, and now you're blushing? I do not blush. You're definitely blushing. Silence! She hissed, tails flaring. But she refused to meet his eyes. The medic leaned in just enough to make her squirm. You know, where I'm from, biting usually means foreplay. She whipped her head toward him, scandalized. For what? He laughed so hard he nearly dropped the bandage roll. Oh, this is going to be fun. From then on, every exchange carried more weight. Every threat came with double edges, every glance lasted a fraction too long. He checked her pulse once and she snarled. Staring again. He answered. I'm not staring, I'm counting heartbeats. She shot back. Count one more and you'll lose a finger. He smirked. Worth it if it tells me what makes your heart race. She didn't answer that one. Not with words. Just a flush at the tips of her ears and tails that couldn't stay still. He learned quickly that humans and Vulpines measured intimacy differently. For her kind, eye contact was dangerous, lingering looks were bold, and physical touch was practically scandalous. For him, those were just part of the job. But somewhere between wrapping gauze and checking vitals, the line blurred. One evening, as he tightened the bandage, she whispered low enough he almost missed it. Perhaps. I will not bite too hard. His hands froze. He looked up, searching her face. She wasn't meeting his eyes. She was staring at the floor, ears tilted forward, voice almost shy. He smiled slowly. Careful. That almost sounded like flirting. She growled half-heartedly. Foolish human. Always staring. Always mocking. Always caring. He corrected softly. Her head snapped up at that, eyes wide. For once, she had no comeback. He finished the bandage in silence, but the air between them hummed with something new. Not just threat, not just comedy, not just tension. Something warmer. Something sharper. When he packed up his kit, she spoke again, voice steady but low. Tomorrow. Do not look too long. He chuckled as he walked out. No promises. The medic returned again, same routine, but this time the air already felt charged before he spoke a word. She was waiting, posture rigid, eyes locked on him like he was both intruder and necessary evil. He could feel her measuring every step he took, every glance he gave. He set his kit down deliberately slow, giving her time to pounce if she wanted. She didn't. Instead, her ears twitched, and she said, Do not linger. He grinned. You say that every time. One of these days I'm going to think you actually mean it. I do mean it. Funny, because the longer I stay, the less you seem to chase me out. She bristled, tails swishing. That is because I am too weak to end your pestering. Or maybe, he said lightly, leaning closer to inspect the edge of her wound. You're starting to like the pestering. Her claws flexed, not in attack but as if she needed to grip something. Do not flatter yourself. Too late. I'm already flattered. He pressed the bandage gently against her ribs. She flinched, but not from pain, at least, not entirely. The way her breath hitched was too telling. He caught it, stored it away like all the other little victories. Her voice dropped, almost husky. Human eyes are greedy. Maybe, he admitted. But they're honest. Mine don't lie about what they like. The silence stretched until she muttered. Shameless creature. Absolutely. He agreed with no hesitation. It became a duel. Every check-up, every movement, every word was both a medical necessity and an excuse to push at boundaries neither of them admitted aloud. She'd hiss that his fingers lingered, he'd reply that he was simply thorough. She'd accuse him of staring, he'd claim he was studying anatomy for science. When she spat that he was impertinent, he quipped that she was irresistible. Some nights she seemed to forget her threats entirely. She asked questions instead, strange, almost innocent curiosities. Why did humans hum? Why did they joke in the face of death? Why did they touch so casually, as if skin meant nothing? He answered honestly, though always with a smile. Because life's short. Because laughter makes the shortness bearable. Because skin means everything. Her gaze lingered at that. Too long. Long enough for him to feel it. Long enough for her to look away in a hurry, as if caught. The base gossip only fueled the fire. Humans teased him about Fox courtship rituals. Vulpine guards smirked whenever they heard her growl. Neither of them admitted how much it got under their skin. The medic leaned into it shamelessly. Careful, he'd whisper when she threatened again. Keep saying it in public, and they'll think you're already mine. Her cheeks burned brighter than her eyes. She snarled but didn't deny it. The tension grew so sharp it turned ridiculous. One evening, while he checked her pulse again, she asked abruptly, "Why risk it?" He raised a brow. "Risk what?" "My teeth. My claws. My patience." Her gaze was sharp, but beneath it something fragile stirred. "You provoke. You linger. You test. Why?" He didn't flinch, didn't look away. "Because you're worth the risk." Her breath caught. He could hear it, feel it, the air between them so heavy it almost pressed against his chest. For once, she didn't growl. For once, she didn't threaten. She simply stared, unguarded, and it felt more dangerous than any fawn. The silence broke when she whispered, "Foolish human." He leaned back, not to escape but to give her space. "Maybe. But you're still here. And so am I." She looked away, tails curling around her like shields. "Do not push further." He smiled faintly. "Not tonight." After that, their conversations sharpened with double edges sharper than her claws. When he offered food, she accused him of bribery. He replied, "Maybe I just want to feed the one who keeps threatening to bite me." When she scoffed that human hands were clumsy, he wiggled his fingers and asked, "Want me to prove how steady they can be?" Her ears betrayed her with another twitch, and her retort was weaker than usual. Each encounter left them both restless. He pretended to sleep easy, but every laugh lingered in his chest long after. She pretended his touch didn't matter, but she woke in the night with her hands pressed to the very spot he'd bandaged. And still, either admitted what they wanted outright. The breaking point came when he caught her watching him before he even started. Not the usual glare, not the usual threat, but watching. Quiet, contemplative, like she was memorizing his face. He froze, then smiled slowly. "Caught you staring," he teased. Her ears shot back. "I was not." "You were." He leaned closer. "Now you owe me." Her claws flexed again. "Owe you what?" "A bite," he said lightly, and the words hung between them, not just a joke anymore. Her pupils narrowed, golden eyes blazing, but her lips parted like she might say something else entirely. For one dangerous heartbeat, the line between threat and invitation blurred completely. Then she pushed him away with a scowl. "Arrogant human!" He laughed softly. "And you like it?" She didn't deny it. That night, when he left, she whispered so quietly he almost didn't hear, "Perhaps you should risk one more look." His grin lingered all the way back to his quarters. The medic entered again, and this time, there was no attempt to disguise the tension. She was sitting upright before he even reached her, golden eyes narrowed but her posture strangely still, as if waiting. He set down the kit with his usual casual air, though his pulse betrayed him. He pretended it was just another visit, another wound check, but he knew, she knew, it had shifted. She didn't growl. She didn't threaten. She just watched, ears flicking as though catching every change in his breath. That silence unnerved him more than any hiss. He tried to fill it. "No threats tonight? No warning about your teeth?" Her lips curved, not into a snarl but something sharper. "Do you want me to bite you?" The words were low, deliberate. Not a threat, an offer laced with danger and something more. His grin faltered for the first time, because he heard the difference. He leaned closer, voice quieter. "Depends where." Her ears burned red, but she didn't retreat. Instead, she leaned too, and for a moment the gap closed until her breath brushed his cheek. Her tails shifted restlessly, betraying nerves she'd never admit. He pressed the bandage against her skin, slower than necessary, watching her reaction. "You linger too long," she whispered. "Or maybe," he countered softly, "you've stopped wanting me to leave." Her claws grazed his sleeve, not cutting, just there, testing. She could tear him open in a second. Instead, she traced. "Human arrogance knows no limit. Neither does human persistence," he said, steady. "We survive because we refuse to walk away. Even when it's dangerous. Especially then." For once, she had no retort. Her gaze locked on his, and the air thickened until every breath felt like defiance. When she finally spoke, it was not a threat but a confession wrapped in insult. "You are impossible. And you're irresistible," he shot back. She laughed then. A real laugh, harsh and throaty, but it made his chest tighten because it was the first time she allowed it. It wasn't cruel, wasn't mocking, it was alive. He laughed too, relieved, reckless. That laughter carried them into dangerous territory. Every word turned into banter with teeth, every glance a dare. He joked about how foxes mated for life, and she nearly clawed his shoulder for the audacity, though her ears betrayed her. She teased that humans were fragile, and he replied, "Fragile, sure, but stubborn enough to outlast predators." "Like you?" She accused him of flirting, and he smirked. "Who said it's only flirting?" The line was broken when she stopped pretending to hate his touch. He checked her wound again, but this time, when his hand brushed her fur, she didn't pull away. She let it linger. Too long. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger but in something raw, something unguarded. He froze, sensing the shift. "Still greedy," she murmured. "Still honest," he answered. She leaned closer, so close he could feel the warmth radiating off her. "And still foolish enough to risk me?" "Every time," he said without hesitation. Her claws caught his collar, sharp tips pricking just enough to remind him of what she was. She could end him with one motion. Instead, she pulled him closer. Their lips didn't meet yet, but the proximity was electric, unbearable. Her growl was low, dangerous, but her words broke into something softer. "One more look, and I will not stop at a bite." He laughed, breathless, staring. "Then I'll look as long as I can." That was the moment she stopped resisting. Her growl turned into something else entirely, a sound caught between threat and surrender. She kissed him, or maybe it was closer to claiming him with teeth barely restrained. He kissed back without fear, because fear was gone, replaced with the fire that had been building since the first threat. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tender. It was desperate, full of teeth and heat and the kind of intensity that only comes when two creatures finally drop every shield. She bit, but lightly, leaving marks without breaking him. He laughed into her mouth. "Told you, worth the risk." When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, she stared at him with a mix of shock and something too deep to name. Her voice was rough. "Human, you are ruined." He smiled, lips bruised. "Then ruin me again." She shoved him back with mock irritation, but her tails betrayed her, wrapping close instead of swiping. "You do not know what you invite." "Maybe not," he admitted. "But I know I'd rather face your bite than a life without you." Her silence said more than her words ever could. She didn't chase him out. She didn't threaten. She only watched him with eyes that no longer denied what had grown between them. By the time he left that night, the base gossip had already begun to spread again, whispers of the human who tamed the Vulpine's bite. He didn't care. She didn't either. Let them talk. Let them laugh. Humanity had always been underestimated, mocked for being fragile, impulsive, reckless. Yet here he was, still standing, still laughing, still daring to love something sharper than death itself. And she, deadly, proud, untouchable, let him. The next time he came, there would be no more warnings, no more empty threats. Just the inevitable truth of what they had become, predator and prey turned partners, joke and threat turned promise, bite and kiss turned indistinguishable. Because sometimes HFY wasn't about strength, or technology, or victory in battle. Sometimes it was about something simpler, more dangerous, more enduring, staring down a snarl, refusing to look away, and winning a heart where no one else dared try. And in her own way, with a smile that almost hid her fangs, she admitted it. "Human, you are mine now." His grin was shameless. "Finally."